Publix, I saw 7 or 8 people out in the intersection here with notepads and looking at the intersection. And I thought, well, maybe they're from the town because there's a meeting this afternoon. So I went over, and they weren't from the town. It was Mrs. Stallone and an entourage of contractors and landscapers. And she was planning to put some boulders there to keep people from running over her grass. And I showed her my large boulder, which had been knocked into the road a number of times. And I said, I don't think you should bother because it won't work. I've thought about this for a long time, and I'm not sure about the 3 strikes issue, because I don't know that I would ever get 3 trucks. I would have to sit out in my driveway all day, every day to kind of see who's running over my property. It's just not possible. I think that I agree with Susan that it has to be some sort of area-wide ban that is enforced by just not letting big trucks come up unless they have a special permit. If you have to bring a cement mixer or something, well, then there should be a permitting plan and a route plan and for trucks over a certain size, because anything less than that is just not going to work. I've thought about this for a long time. Thanks.
Molly, while you're on, how many times have you had to replace your sprinklers in the last 2 years, 4 years?
Oh, a couple times a year.
Yeah. I mean, this has been, I live 1 block from there, and it's just awful. Molly's property, the property across the street. And, you know, Jay, if you could put that 1 picture up, I'd like to also show you what people have started doing, which is it just looks horrible in our town, but they have no choice between the rocks. And can you put those pictures back up for 1 sec and get to the corner of Deborah Lane and Lake across from her? So if you go, let's see, keep going. It's the one with the yellow tape.
Oh, yeah.
Construction tape. So now what people have started doing is they're putting that horrible construction tape up because nothing else seems to be working. And, you know, while I know I'm not sure you're actually allowed to do that, it's really come down to fact. It's the only thing that he can do to protect his property. And it's happening on both sides of his property because he's on a corner lot.
But
So,
you can, Julie, you can see, can you hear me?
yes, of course.
You can see what even happened to that, because that taping had been knocked down a week or so before that, and it was newly put up. And about 2 days after it was newly put up, it was run down again. And on the bottom picture, you can see where there's a 3-foot tall metal thing. There had been another one on the other side of the drain, and we pulled it out because it was leaning towards the street, and I thought someone would be impaled on it. But you can see that was just took 2 days to destroy that one.
No, I know. And I'm just, this is not, and it's not just these 3 streets. And I think that's one of the, we can go back to Ted and Jay and everyone, but Molly, I thank you for bringing the photos and for participating today, and Susan as well. I think the problem is this is happening. And if you look at the Kimley Horn report, they show it's all over. I mean, I see it over on Arabian, I see it over on Indian, I see it. And I don't think it's fair to the property owners. So I think though, what you've come up with is a start. But what's interesting, as I said before, when I look at the map, basically no street should have a big truck according to this map. And I think that's what we really need to look at. And I know code enforcement is an issue, but on the other hand, at least if we have the rules on the books and you put signs up, you know, one of the problems, as Molly brought up, is when you only do construction sites, you don't know where the truck's going. And there are a lot of people who violate that are not just construction trucks. But again, I really appreciate what you brought today. I think it's certainly something that in the interim, while we're looking at everything else, could hopefully be successful. Ted, would you like to speak again?
No, I don't have much data. I've observed those conditions up in the north end and grew up in a home on North Lake Way where the road curves. So witnessed the damage trucks making turns can do firsthand and know it's a troubling issue.
Okay, so what would you suggest, Ted, in going forward with this? I think and by the way, I want to thank Jay and Paul and Wayne and anyone else who has worked on this, because I know you've been working really hard trying to get these maps together and trying to come up with solutions. And I just want to thank you all for these maps and for all the information. I think that from what we talked about before, this is certainly something that is a good start, but and certainly something to go forward with if, Ted, you agree, for a recommendation to council, which do we need, which I believe we have to make
No, we've actually already implemented this. This is
okay.
yeah.
So then
This
when
is
I
more
do the
this is
ORS,
informational for you.
okay, thank you. So when we do the ORS report, maybe we could talk a little bit about it so people can see it and understand. And certainly we have more of the public generally at those meetings to see what you've done. But I thank you. So this is just an update, no motion needed. What I would like to say is, would you consider continuing the effort to look at what perhaps we could do in at least the area north of Wells Road, or north of Royal Point Sienna, but I think it's really Wells. But if you could kind of look at how we can limit the truck size, unless they have a special permit, which, maybe each site, maybe we work out a way for each site to have, we do permits, maybe they have a sticker on those days, or maybe they have a pass on those days. But I do think something has to be done. That's just my opinion. And from a safety perspective too, I've witnessed so many trucks, and Paul Brazil knows because I sent him the pictures. He asked me to, but I have witnessed so many trucks that have gotten stuck. It's just, and it's not safe. So, okay. Thank you. Jay, is there anything else you'd like to bring us up to date on? Is there anything for our next meeting that you want Ted and I to consider? Wayne, any of you, any last points? Paul Brazil?
The only thing that we have kind of left on our agenda, I would suspect when you do your, let me back up. I would suspect when you do your ORS report, which will be at the March meeting, that you'll have a conversation about what we just had. And if there's some direction that comes from council relative to further studying this and looking at area-wide or street-wide or whatever direction they give us, we can have another conversation at an upcoming ORS meeting. But other than that, the only item that's kind of on our plate, on your plate, is the noise discussion. And we've already addressed that. So the only other thing I had was, let's schedule our next meeting, but I think it would be premature because we really need to know how much time Skip needs. He may not be ready in March. So I think we're good at this point. We'll work with Skip, see when he's ready to come back to deal with the noise issue. You'll have your March meeting with council to give your report, and perhaps you get some direction then, and then we can schedule our next meeting.
And Jay, the only thing I'll say is council gave us a direction to study the issue. So yeah. I think if Ted and I agree that perhaps there are more things we can do and we should look at, that is what their goal for us was. So I think that we can go ahead and try to look at some other things that we might be able to do to really offer protection. Because remember, at the last meeting, we did say, if you could just bring what you think is great, and this is a wonderful start. But I would like to, for our next meeting, see if there are some other things that we can do.
Yeah, I guess it would be helpful to get some direction on what types of things you are most interested in. We've heard conversations about area-wide bans, specific streets, banning, a permitting program for all types of trucks. We can certainly talk about it. There are concerns that are jumping into my head in terms of feasibility, but and resources. But we can definitely be prepared to have a conversation with you, but it would be helpful to get some direction on what it is we should be preparing to have a conversation about.
Okay, like we did the last time. Remember, we went to council to ask to get direction from them.
Yep.
Perfect. Well, if no one else has anything, is there anyone else in the public who wanted to speak?
Yep.
Wayne,
One has indicated.
Wayne, are you good?
All good, Julie. Thank you.
And Paul, Brazil?
There, I'm good.
Okay, thank you for all your hard work. We appreciate it.
Thank
Do I need a motion to adjourn?
Well, I'll make it.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I second it.
Okay, Mr. Cooney,
Yes.
Ms. Aristotle.
Yes, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your
Thank you.
participation.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.